Thanks for being with us here on BBC News. After 5 years of military rule, Myanmar gets a new president today. General Min Aung Hlaing, the man who led the 2021 coup against the elected government led by Aung San Suu Kyi, has been elected to lead the new notionally civilian administration. Let's go live now to our Southeast Asia correspondent Jonathan Head, who's just been to Myanmar to watch the general's last military parade. Jonathan, just remind us of the background.
Well, when General Min Aung Hlaing launched his shock coup 5 years ago, he did promise at the time a very quick return to some kind of democratic rule. Remember, he ousted a very popular leader in Aung San Suu Kyi and arrested her, and she just won a landslide election. So he's always known that his coup lacked legitimacy. But because of the wave of public anger that he stirred up with his coup and the civil war that broke out, meaning his military has lost control of quite large areas of the country, he's had to postpone that plan to move to some kind of democratic rule many, many times. It's taken him this long. This was preceded by an election which was really weighted heavily in favour of the military's own party. So the parliament's stacked with his own supporters and loyalists, and he's now been able to carry out a transition which many critics around the world are going to essentially say is a military regime in civilian clothing.
Dressed in their finest, the newly elected members of Myanmar's parliament met in the capital this week to do something they've been unable to do since the coup, elect the country's leader. But as nearly everyone here is a military loyalist, it was inevitable who they'd choose. So confident was he of getting the top job, the coup leader Min Aung Hlaing relinquished command of the armed forces even before the vote was finalised, handing over to a trusted subordinate.
When Min Aung Hlaing and his men made their fateful move here 5 years ago, they didn't just turn back the clock, undoing a decade of hopeful democratic progress. They also unleashed a ruinous civil war, destroying an already struggling economy. And yet the man whose ambition played a big part in that coup appears to have no regrets.
Every year, the military stages this spectacular parade in Naypyidaw, reminding the people of Myanmar of its pervasive influence over their lives, and showing off the weapons, mostly Chinese and Russian, used to wage war on its opponents. Presiding for the last time, Min Aung Hlaing said the army had a constitutional right to be involved in national politics, describing those who'd taken up arms against his coup as terrorists. The protests seen in the months after the coup are a rarity these days. Military punishments are just too severe. Jaw Win, not his real name, says he was beaten with an iron bar, slashed with a knife and sexually assaulted for days after being arrested for joining a flash mob 3 years ago. Following his release from jail, he says he's had enough.
If I stay in this country, I will always face all kinds of oppression. There is forced conscription that really worries me. We are under constant surveillance. I love my family. I want to stay with them. But going overseas is now the best option for me.
The economic situation is dire. The UN says 1/3 of the population needs life-saving humanitarian assistance. Fuel shortages caused by the Iran war have compounded this crisis. Few believe a military regime donning civilian clothes is the answer. They won't care about us, said this motorbike taxi driver. We'll still have to rely on ourselves. His earnings, he said, no longer covered even his food and rent. Just surviving. For most Burmese, that's the best they can hope for, while they wait to see whether the generals who've run their country for so much of its history will ever loosen their grip.
So the question now is, now he's got the job, what is Min Aung Hlaing going to do with it? Now he's got this thing he's always wanted, being president. Now this priority should be to end this disastrous civil war. You've got millions displaced, thousands killed by it. The problem is he's appointed a very hardline man to replace him as military commander. It's likely that the airstrikes, the drone strikes, the destruction of villages are just going to continue as the military tries to regain control of the country, with huge consequences for the civilian population. One other thing he might consider is releasing Aung San Suu Kyi. She's so well known. She's been out of sight for years, locked up. That might win him some international favour. But no one's under any illusions that even if she is released, that we're going to see the kind of transition to a real democratic government that we saw 15 years ago in Myanmar.
Jonathan, thank you. That's our Southeast Asia correspondent, Jonathan Head, with the latest on that change at the top there.